I'm Amir, and I'm honored to be the voice you hear before you go to sleep tonight. Some of you have previously indicated that you could listen to me. So, hello friend, and welcome to your sleep story, in a way. This is my response to reading the phone book well. I have made a new series of dull days in dull lives where nothing much occurs. Tonight, we meet the most uninteresting woman in the world. I should add, and perhaps this dull story will make you smile. Now, let's do the relaxation exercise, which will take a few minutes before tonight's sleep story. I'm going to count down from 10 to 1, and as you go to sleep, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me in the comments where you are and what time you go to sleep. I do let you relax more and more so that you can feel the support of the floor, the bed underneath you, or whatever you're lying on tonight. And as you get more conscious of that support, try to recognize a deeper, ongoing support, the support of the ground. Everything, and if your eyes aren't closed, let that awareness help you let go, release, and start saying goodbye to the day. However, perhaps now would be a good moment to let them close 9. You're safe, so let my voice be your companion tonight and serve as a guide of in this story or another. Kindness is a reliable guide that will always lead you to secure places. And you're growing increasingly conscious of that sensation of sea. If safety allows you to let go after the day is over, regardless of what has happened or will happen, as it is, you are most likely still having thoughts that come to you. Instead of pursuing them, try to, instead of fighting them, just watch them go. They will drift away like leaves on a moonlit river, or clouds moving through a starlit sky. 7. Give yourself permission to relax and enjoy this moment because it is yours and you deserve it. Recognize that you deserve to relax, as we all do, and pay attention to any areas of your body where you may be storing tension, such as your lower body or your feet, legs, your hands, your stomach, or perhaps, like me, you keep the stress in your face. Simply let it all go. 6 P's lives within. It does, I assure you, and you can discover it tonight. Just start letting go now and see if you can find that inner peace. It's waiting for you as you get closer to deep sleep. You realize that you have nothing to carry at the moment and nowhere to go. You are seen, waiting to be heard, waiting to be felt. 5. Do nothing and let that reality give you greater peace so that you can maybe express some thankfulness now. Express thankfulness for the small things in life, such as your shelter tonight, your breathing, and the people you care about. 3. Starting to interact with. You imagine now a rainy day with a very ordinary looking house on a very ordinary looking woman sitting in her very ordinary looking home. You are going to meet a woman who does extreme a little and is more than happy with that fact. It's time to give your body some rest because it has worked hard for you today. Check in with it again. And as I tell you tonight's sleep story, I'm letting go entirely. It's just another dull day in what may be sleep story's really dull life. If you think I'm the most boring lady in the world, don't believe me. She would tell you herself. This isn't meant to be judgmental, and it's a dream narrative, so you might I would tell you the name of the dull woman, but it's just too dull. She lives in a house that's neither too big nor too little or anything. Anyway, the more boring, the better, given that it has been raining since yesterday and probably the day before. You can almost tell that the front door is beige and the walls are a different shade of beige when the light strikes them just right. That even if she doesn't keep track of such things, the rain isn't dramatic and hits the windows. Rather, it's a steady, medium-paced, gently drumming kind of rain. She has 3 identical cardigans in 3 different shades of gray, and she rotates them according to a schedule that only she knows. Monday is the slightly grayer gray because she considers rain that doesn't cause a fuss to be extremely pleasing. Wednesday is the ordinary gray, which she enthusiastically calls mid-tone. By the way, if you see any parallels between yourself and the most uninteresting woman in the world, Tuesday is the slightly less gray. She has the same breakfast every morning: a cooked egg without salt or pepper and a slice of plain white toast with no seasoning. But don't worry, we're all a little dull. Butter is chopped diagonally, but simply because that's how the knife works naturally, and she prefers things to be without any surprises or excitement. After breakfast, she washes the spoon, egg cup, and everything else. In her routine, which is a calm, pleasant beige color with a constant background of perfectly acceptable rain. 10 years ago, she tried washing the plate before the egg cup, and the day just didn't feel right, so she does it in that sequence every single day, not because she has to, but because she tried it once. Then, using her white dishcloth and a faded image of a lighthouse in dry weather, she dries everything and places everything back exactly where it belongs. The spoon goes in the 3rd slot from the egg cup has a unique nook next to the kettle and does not want to be moved once she gets there. On the left, the plate is piled beneath 2 other identical dishes. At 9:48 a.m., she never watches for the mailman and never rushes to the door, which would be thrilling. Instead, she waits exactly 2 minutes, gets up, walks to the corridor, and gathers the letters with a sort of silent resolve. Today's post is a beautiful window cleaning pamphlet, services, as well as a charity envelope with a picture of a donkey wearing a hat. She takes some time to admire the hat, which is a pretty straw one with a light blue ribbon, before placing the brochure in their recycling, and at exactly 10:27 a.m. puts the envelope on the kitchen counter. She heads for the exhibit cabinet. It is not a big cabinet or very intriguing, but it is spotless and has exactly 11 teaspoons. Neither more nor less sand. She doesn't get them from overseas, nations, or historical occurrences. But no, these aren't novelty spoons. They're just ordinary stainless steel teaspoons, steel and identical in every manner that can be seen, but not to her. She uses the small key that keeps in the drawer next to the batteries to open the cabinet. One by one, when she carefully and tenderly examines the spoons, she finds that number 3 has the best balance. She also notices that number 7 has a slightly more assured curve, but that might just be the light. Once, while playing tricks once more, spoon number 9 stirred a mug of chamomile tea so precisely that she can still recall the moment, even though she doesn't remember the tea. After the inspection is finished, she lightly polishes each spoon, using a little cloth that reads, "Spoons only," in faint handwritten ink, before putting them back in their velvet-lined cases, slots and locks the cabinet once more. The key goes back where it should, and everything is in its proper place. She then puts on her outdoor shoes, which are strikingly similar to her indoor shoes, but 2 shades different in preparation for her daily visit to the garden, where the rain is still falling. Darker, she picks up her rain hat from the door's rack. It's light gray and perfectly matches her coat. She then proceeds to the door, which leads to a tiny back door that leads to the garden. It cacks a little with a grudging hinge, but she finds the sound comforting and predictable. So she goes outside and shuts the door behind her with the same amount of force she always applies. The rain pours directly onto her umbrella, a plain brown one with a wooden handle, and it's neither too hard nor too soft. The handle clicks open, but she doesn't spin it around. The garden is square and completely rectangular, with no hidden paths or untamed spots. The plants, which are cut to a perfect height of 5 centimeters and have a border of identical shrubs positioned precisely 64 centimeters apart, slightly shimmering, but not in an unduly lyrical way. Very little damp, she moves slowly along the perimeter route, taking 16 steps at a time, occasionally 17 if her umbrella catches the breeze. Today, she takes 16 steps total. There is a circular bench at the far end of the garden that she really likes. She calls it the sitting bench because that is its purpose. She put a little folding chair next to it. Today, behind the garden shed's overhang, and she sits with the umbrella open as the rain patters softly against the cloth over her head. It's not romantic. It's just what she does with her hands folded neatly in her lap. She looks at her favorite spot, the back of her own house, which is peaceful and motionless, until a bird lands on the fence. It's an everyday sight. She gives it a brief glance, nods once in courteous acknowledgement, and then goes back to observing her home's back wall, where nothing is happening at precisely noon, not even a minute. Prior to returning inside for lunch, she folds up her chair, shakes the umbrella precisely 3 times to prevent puddling, and then, never a minute later ready, she pulls out a single tomato, a slice of mild cheddar. She chooses the tomato and the cheese, then takes out a single piece of plain instead of toasting the white bread from the bread pin. She applies a little butter to it, then arranges the cheese and tomato on top of it before pressing it shut with the smallest hint of with effort. She rinses her plate after eating her sandwich, dries it, and puts it back on the shelf above the spoons. The only cloth she will need to do next is laundry. She opens the airing closet, takes out a tiny wicker basket, and carries it to the spare room where she folds. Inside are 6 items, 3 pillows, 2 vests, and a bath towel. She carefully folds cases of different but equally light hues, matching corners and smoothing edges with a peaceful sense of satisfaction. After folding, the products are piled in categories. She looks at the stack for a time without moving, then carefully puts them in their drawers, closing each one slowly while listening for the gentle "it is 2:03 p.m. and she has just completed folding the final pillowcase before going back to her normal routine. This informs her that everything is well in the world. The chair in the front room is the one she always uses after doing the laundry, and it is slightly inclined away from the television, which is always off. She doesn't watch it. Instead, she just faces outside. The rain keeps tapping as her hands are folded in her lap and her feet are resting on a tiny footstool that is neither too soft nor too stiff. Peacefully against the windows, she didn't take a nap right after. Instead, doing her pre-nap ritual, which included crossing her ankles, uncrossing them, and then crossing them again before adjusting the blanket over her knees. Although it wasn't cold, the blanket's presence gave the scene a feeling of repose, as if she was truly dedicated to napping. By 2007, her eyes were only partially closed, and she allowed her head to lean back on the chair, mouth closed, breathing steadily and softly. The rain tapping against the ground outside, and occasionally a car passing by that sounded more hurried than it had to. She thought the vehicle was heading somewhere significant, but she wasn't at 212. She started to feel like she was slipping, but she was dragged by the slightest hint that something cold required going over a mental checklist. And after making sure everything was in order, she gave herself permission to relax once more. She didn't dream, but rather went into a sort of time, became loose, and you drifted as you were standing in shallow water, feeling the tide brush over your ankles without ever moving, droopy. And when she woke up at 2:46, her mouth felt a bit dry. She went to the kitchen and, standing motionless, drank a glass of water, which tasted just like water she didn't particularly like. It didn't bother her in the least. The day went by, and at 3:40, she thought about tackling a crossword puzzle, but she had already finished much of the one in the paper that morning. All that was left were the intriguing hints, which he had largely avoided. Eventually, she decided to go over them because they were completely different and out of character. The television guide. She chose a documentary about canal systems, and when she turned on the TV for the first time in a long time, the canal program fulfilled all of her expectations. She didn't blink as she watched the entire thing, which included lengthy images of water gently moving beneath bridges and a voice over by someone who sounded like they were once something famous in the 1980s, much and actually rather liked it. By 5:02 p.m., the light had changed, becoming dimmer rather than darker, which made everything feeling courteously prepared to slow down. She drew the curtains halfway to signal the start of the day's conclusion, just enough to give the space. A slightly more dinner was a low-key affair consisting of 3 cucumbers, a piece of tofu, and a slice of bread, all wrapped up like a secret that no one would ever find out. He seasoned the cucumber slices with salt and proceeded to eat carefully. She ended with a square of plain chocolate, which she allowed to rest on her tongue until it disappeared after washing up right away after eating, turning off the kitchen light and stopping in the hallway to listen to the rain outside. By 7:45, she was dressed for the night. The canal documentary had concluded hours before. The TV was off, and she was sitting in her living room chair, again with her hands folded neatly on her lap. By 8:12, she was in the bathroom brushing. She felt curiously relieved that she had rinsed and patted her face dry with a towel while gazing at a little fissure in the tile grout that hadn't changed. She went to the bedroom, where the bed welcomed her like an old friend who didn't need an explanation. She climbed in, pulled the blanket up to her chin, and rested her head on the pillow. As she lies in bed, the rain continues to fall steadily outside, and she switches on a lamp that has been next to her bed since 1994. She pulls out her book, A Brief History of Mild Conflict, which is beige with a pleated shade and a base, shaped like something that was likely intended to seem like a vase, with the lamp now glowing. One paragraph at a time, with lengthy pauses to consider each sentence. She has been reading it for 7.5 years. Today's piece discusses the permissible humidity levels in any case. Fall is just fascinating enough to keep her eyes engaged. She reads slowly and attentively, focusing on the type of material typically seen in medic laughter reading. She inserts a tiny piece of plain paper between the pages. She doesn't believe in bookmarks. Shan gently shuts the book, as if not to frighten it, like she would while removing a stray hair from a jumper. She now turns off the light, reclines, gently wraps her hands across her stomach, and exhales. One tiny sigh, not out of regret or anxiety, but from the straightforward cant of yet another completely unremarkable day finished on her own silent standards. Suddenly, the most uninteresting woman in the world goes to sleep. If anything fascinating ever does occur, she will handle it tomorrow, but most likely not.